Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Vijay, for that wonderful introduction. 30 seconds about my background. I grew up as an IT engineer. It's my almost 30 years in this industry. And the last 8 years, I've been in the automotive industry, starting with Tesla. So I thought Tesla is actually an automotive company. And later on, after a year or so, I joined. I realized that it's not an automotive company, it's a technology company. Trying to completely revolutionize the auto industry. So I spent nearly 4.5 years working directly for Elon Musk. And then you may ask why you left such a great company and then joined an unknown startup. Back then, the NIO was called NextEV. And then in 2016, we renamed ourselves from NextEV to NIO. So it's been 3 years, and I joined NIO as a global CIO. And then back in last December, I took over as the managing director for the NIO US operations. So what I thought I will do is the first 5 minutes or so, I will just ground you all with who NIO is and then what we have developed so far in terms of helping with this next generation mobility and then the autonomous transportation. Then I will hit on the main point for the keynote. So NIO is more than a car company. So who is NIO? We started as a global startup in November 2014, well funded by Tencent, Temasek, Sequoia, Baidu, to name a few global investors. And then in 4 years, from a startup company to a nearly 10,000 employee-based global company, we went public in New York Stock Exchange in September of last year. And in the meantime, we delivered 2 consumer products, mainly the 2 autonomous or level 2 autonomous vehicle for China market. So here's a footprint. As I mentioned, we born as a global startup with our design facility in Europe, in Munich. And also we have a performance program in London, outside of Oxford. And then the Advanced Technology Center, or the brain of NIO, is in Silicon Valley in San Jose. It's about 5 miles from here. And then our manufacturing and the vehicle engineering facility is in China, specifically in Shanghai and then Beijing. So globally, this is a footprint of NIO. And in terms of the products, what we have developed, as I mentioned, we started with proving the concept. We started with a performance program. So there's a gentleman named Martin Leach, Dr. Martin Leach, who used to be the chairman of one of the European OEM vehicles. He was a race driver, so he had a passion towards creating a Formula E vehicle, because being a race driver, obviously that comes to your top of your mind. So we started, producing this racing car back in 2014, and then still that program continues. So the first picture is our Formula E program, and we also have a Formula E race in New York City that's coming shortly. And then the second product is the EP9, which is a supercar. Which is the fastest electric vehicle and then now an autonomous vehicle on planet Earth that's been created thus far. When I say the fastest electric, so it started with an electric supercar. Then we challenged ourselves. There is a misnomer in the industry that performance and autonomy, can they coexist? So most people, they believe they cannot coexist. So we tried to prove that it is not true. So we put the GPS antenna and then some of the autonomous technology on top of this supercar, and very successfully we ran the Circuit of America COTA track in Austin, Texas 2 years ago. Autonomously, this vehicle, NIO EP9, actually took a complete lap, and it set the world record. I encourage you to look at our website to learn more, and the video is posted so you can see for yourself. And the third vehicle is a concept vehicle called NIO Eve, which again, we launched it at the South by Southwest event in Austin, Texas. That really shows when the current vehicle becomes truly autonomous, what does that truly mean? What that user experience should look like. Loosely we call it as, NIO, we are not building cars. We are building a supercomputer or a robot that happen to look like a car. If so, how should that supercomputer be architected? So some of those concepts, you can see it in the NIO Eve, because the space becomes, and space is a new premium. It used to be the black leather and chrome-plated wheels used to be the luxury in the context of in the context of vehicles, but that's changing now. It is the space is a new premium, new luxury. So the Eve demonstrates some of those capabilities. How should that future look like? And then the last two products are the true consumer products where drivers like me and you can actually drive on the road. And then the first two products are, we launched it in China. And then, as Vijay mentioned, we started delivering our first vehicle in June of last year. And then as of December 31st of last year, we delivered over 15,000 NIO ES8s, which are 7-seater SUV, fully electric, and it is level 2 ADAS or AD. And I'll explain what that means. And then the last vehicle we launched is NIO ES6, which is a 5-seater electric autonomous vehicles. Again, that is targeted for China market initially. So this is a quick picture of that supercar. This is actually the Dakota track in Austin, Texas that we took the picture. So you can learn more about it in our website. And this was a NIO Eve. As I mentioned, when the vehicle becomes your true digital companion of tomorrow, how should that look like? And then again, you can learn more about the NIO Eve from our website as well. And this is a quick snapshot of our ES8, the first vehicle I mentioned. We launched 15,000 plus. They have been driven by our users throughout mainland China. This is ES6, smaller version of the same SUV, fully electric, level 2, level 2.5 ADAS. In fact, starting in June, we will start delivering those vehicles to the users. It's an exciting time. And this is, again, a quick snapshot of how many vehicles have we delivered. As I mentioned, I used to be at Tesla for a number of years. It took more than 2 years for Tesla to hit this kind of a volume. Granted, Tesla was the first to enter the market into this industry, and there's a lot of learnings, and I'm speaking here today because of that industry that Elon had set the foundation for. A lot of companies are now building the next set of products on top of that autonomous vehicle paradigm. So this is the last slide about NIO, so then I'll get to the core of the keynote. This is just to prove that, how quickly we evolved as a startup company to a global public organization. So that's the first picture, that's the birthplace in November 2014, that's our office in Shanghai. And the second one, we opened a San Jose facility in 3100 Northwest Street, Montague and Northwest intersection. And then that's our San Jose mayor inaugurating our building in 2016 when it's fully built. And then the first NIO Day, like any other organizations, like Apple has a launch of new products at the Moscone Center, and we call it as NIO Day. So every December, we plan to launch new products. So this is a NIO Day where we launched our first electric vehicle ES8 in Shanghai. And this is the other picture is ringing the IPO bell. You may notice one thing, there is no founders or no executives of NIO is in that picture in the opening bell. You may think, why? They are the first 10 or 15 NIO users. We don't call customers, we call users. So the gentleman in the middle, he is the first user and happened to be a NIO employee also. So our vision is to create something called a user enterprise. The extent of the user enterprise, my chairman thinks that one day he wants to have the NIO users elect the NIO board. That's the power of the user enterprise vision that we have set. And the last but not least is the most recent NIO Day in Beijing this time. We launched the NIO ES8. Now, the core of today's subject about the next generation transportation and then the autonomous industry in general. As we all recall, every industry has gone through a major disruption. I just want to illustrate the point. For example, our compute industry, if you recall, it started from 1940s all the way through the mid-70s. It was all about mainframe computers, and the leaders were IBM Digital. They disrupted, they were the pioneers in that. Then that shifted into the client-server model from the 75 all the way through mid-90s, and then the leaders, Intel, Microsoft, Cisco's of the world, started that disruption and then created the client-server model, gradually shifting that mainframe computing to client-server model. Then it shifted, then startup companies back in the days, Amazon and Google. Now they started pioneering, taking the charge of that, and then disrupted that industry, compute industry again, came up with the cloud infrastructure. Then the customers like all of us, we started moving away from the mainframe to client server to the cloud. Then the voice became the de facto interface for anything and everything, whether it's a device, appliance, or a PC or a laptop. So that I call it as cognitive computing, which mainly like Siris of the world, Cortanas of the world, so they started. So the voice has taken as the leading position in driving the consumer behavior. I was in the Saratoga last night with the mayor, similar panel discussion. My heart was still what's happening in the Golden State Warriors. Are they winning or not? So during a break, I just asked Siri, what's Golden State Warriors score? Siri gave me the answer within split seconds. So voice has become the de facto interface for getting information, right? We ask pretty much everything. What's the weather today? And how old is Stephen Curry? Siri will give me an answer more than we could type it in Google and get the response. So cognitive computing has taken that disruption. Now, who's going to win? Yet to be seen. What's next? Some of us will come up with some bright ideas too. The point is the compute industry has gone through disruption. Same thing true for mobile. Started with Motorola and Nokia. Those two companies don't even exist today to make significant impact, right? They were the pioneers. It started with the radio frequency as a core invention. They were the leadership in that case until Apple came up with this little thing called iPhone back in 2007. Steve Jobs did not, ask Motorola or Nokia and then ask them to put this iOS as an operating system and call it as iPhone. Instead, he created a new device. The purpose of the device was easy access to the mobile internet. Complete different paradigm and the mind shift. Granted, the first version of iPhone was not the coolest product that me and you would carry, but the purpose was how can I access the mobile internet quicker, faster, and when I want it, where I want it. iPhone came in, and then displacing the Nokias and Motorola's of the world. Now it is now shifting towards more context-based, right? It's, again, so industry is the communication industry has gone through the evolution. Back when iPhone was launched, I'm sure we can ask Siri, what was Apple's market cap? It was less than 200 billion, I'm pretty sure. Today it is north of 1 trillion. It's, again, launching that product with the right purpose, the app ecosystem grew and a lot of startups were born with that concept. That's how the disruption took place in that mobile industry. Same thing for the software industry. Started with hardware, software, then the Unix operating system got launched, then it became the Linux, then open source came in, then now it's all API driven, then the SaaS and PaaS infrastructure came in. So we displace on that, all the old technology with the latest technology. What's next? We will find out together. So software industry has gone through a major, major disruption. It is absolutely high time for automobile industry to disrupt, and there's no different. Again, in the early 90s through 1970 or 80, it was mainly a mechanical and hydraulic system driven internal combustion engine vehicle, the Fords of the world, General Motors of the world, etc. So that was the transportation intelligence that we built to move objects and human from point A to point B. Then came in the electromechanical, which I call it as mechatronics. So mechanical, but still electronics being the main automated engine or the brain behind that. Again, as you can see, the market segment also grew from 250 million to nearly $1 trillion by that time. Now it is digital. See, I did not use the term software. It is digital. Now that industry is now going through an absolute major disruption, and it's become the digital. Again, the vehicle will become the next digital companion that we all wish that happen. The vehicle should give and will give, the productive experience, the playful experience, or the peaceful experience. What I mean by that is, productive means, for example, we are driving to the keynote here today. There is no reason why the vehicle cannot give you that content to learn about, who is this Ganesh, who is NIO. The information is already there. The vehicle is smart enough to know that contextually where you are driving and who are you with. It can deliver that content to you. That is a productive experience. Or you are going to be late for this meeting. because the unexpected traffic came in. The vehicle should know automatically, would you like a Zoom meeting for you to start it so that you don't lose this content and then you are still in the room or in the meeting. You get the idea. In the evening, let's say after work, you want to go back home, you are stressed, I want to have a peaceful environment. So the vehicle knows you are driving back home, depending on your persona. The vehicle knows that you are a sports person, let me play Golden State Warriors KNBR 680 channel for you. The content can be delivered. So contextually, I believe the vehicle should be able to deliver you that seamless experience which you look for. And the last but not least, the playful experience. On the weekends, you want to have quality time with your family, or children, or your friends. It can render you that sort of a playful experience for that. So the vehicle is becoming that digital companion that we all have been dreaming for. It's coming. An autonomous vehicle sets that. It's easy said and done. How do we get there? This is, I think, I look at this vehicle technology evolution. As I mentioned, on the left-hand side, let me walk you through. The traditional OEMs started with car as the core innovation, which is again the mechanical and electronics, combined mechatronics as a core innovation. Then it's changed into an EV revolution. For that, instead of the traditional internal combustion engine, we need to have an e-powertrain, electronic powertrain, which is the motor, the inverter, and the battery itself, right? So the e-powertrain innovation was put around the vehicle. And then autonomous becoming a feature. So in my humble opinion, it's extremely difficult for the traditional OEMs to come up with, because they have, if not tens, probably about 25, 30 years of legacy with 20, 30 or so, or more vehicle platform. There's a lot of legacy. It's so difficult for them to rewire and reinvent themselves into the autonomous vehicle paradigm. So the key point there is, the autonomous became a feature because the core innovation was around on the car as a core IP for them. On the bottom side, it's mainly they focused on the exterior design, and it's pretty capital intensive. We all know the auto industry is extremely difficult to be profitable. The gross margin, it's very difficult to be positive gross margin. In fact, when I left, software industry to get into Tesla automotive, my mentor and then my, senior leaders, they discouraged me to go into that industry. Said, software industry is printing money. Once you start acquiring the customers and it's, getting into that profitability is much easier. I was very, very discouraged to get into this industry. But I still took it. I believed in the Elon vision. I took a big leap of faith in that part. Extremely happy I did that shift, back in 2010 in this part. So it is capital intensive even for Tesla, because the factory building is not that easy. Even today, Tesla is raising funds to enhance that factory experience. Then the modern cars came in, which I refer to as, for example, Tesla, just as an example. I don't want to name. But for Tesla, I believe the core innovation was the e-powertrain, as opposed to the mechanical, the vehicle itself. So it started with the powertrain. Can a powertrain, e-powertrain concept or construct move objects and people from point A to point B without range anxiety? That was a proof point that Elon tried to solve it, and the team at Tesla tried to solve it, and then the Roadster product was given birth. Again, it was made and manufactured in the Lotus facility in UK. After 2,500 or so units were manufactured and sold, proved the point, e-powertrain is a sustainable engine to move objects from point A to point B. Then the Model S came in, and then Model X came in, and then now Model 3, which is a mass market. The point being is e-powertrain was a core innovation, then the car was built around it, then autonomous driving or ADAS, driver assistance, became a feature again. Tesla is a pioneer, I consider, as a modern car. Still, it's heavy manufacturing and capital intensive, because the factory is. The next generation, just put in NIO, but there are others also looking to disrupt in the same way. You have to look autonomy as the core center, core innovation, and then build a car around it. And when you build a car around it, I'll explain that in the subsequent slides. So the key tenet is the immersive user experiences. As I mentioned, the vehicle will become your digital companion in the future. If so, how should that supercomputer or a robot or this autonomous vehicle be architected from the ground up. So that's we have to start from a clean sheet of paper, not from the traditional OEM mindset. So we started looking at autonomous driving or what does truly autonomy means, and how do we make it truly a viable product, safe and then viable product. So that's why, and I believe the vehicle will become the next biggest e-commerce platform. Because when you're not driving, when you're being driven from point A to point B, you are productive. You can do the shopping, which you haven't had experience, because all of us, we actually do the shopping in our mobile now. Nobody does it on the other one, because that mobile device has become the de facto commerce platform for us. There's no reason why the autonomous vehicle couldn't become that next generation e-commerce platform years to come. So commerce and then content, I mentioned about it. So that'll become, I believe that'll become the next content platform, commerce platform, and the most productive platform. So how should we look at how to architect that next generation? So as I mentioned before, to all of us, luxury in the context of a vehicle or a car or a truck or an SUV, the black leather and the fancy look and feel of the interior used to be the premium. And still many of us, we believe that is. It's not true anymore. Time is a new premium, right? So our objective is to give people time back so that you can be doing more stuff. In fact, I was looking at some research. Roughly about 160 billion minutes every year globally is spent in commute. Just process that for a second. 160 billion minutes. Either because of traffic congestion, or it does take that much time for you to commute from point A, from your home to work and then back, right? Wouldn't it be nice if we can give you that time back or part of that time back so that you can be yourself, you can do much more productive things to solve much more meaningful problem solving. So we believe time is a new premium that we should try to solve for. And then space is a new luxury. Within the vehicle right now, for example, the digital cockpit, as we call the instrument cluster or the HUD unit, it is optimized for you as a driver, right? When we all go inside the today's car and then touch the steering wheel, we are all called drivers. You're not who you are, and then I'm not who I am. Wouldn't it be nice if we can be who you want to be at that point in time? For that, we need more space in the vehicle. So autonomous vehicle with thoughtful design, we can get it to that pretty quick. And luxury is a new premium. And flexibility is a new utility. Again, what I meant by that is that immersive experiences, the productive, the peaceful, and then the playful. If you are able to deliver that experience, the vehicle becomes that new utility. And then contextual intelligence. And I didn't use the term artificial intelligence. It's context-sensitive intelligence, which is what I was alluding to. When you are driving alone, let's say you are a music person and you love, Indian classical music, and you like in high volume. So you program your vehicle to play Bhimsen Joshi or whoever that the artist or the musician that you're passionate about. So that is how the car is set. But that changes the moment your spouse or the children gets inside the car, assuming they hate music, they love sports, or they love cooking shows. So contextually, we should be able to give that experience because the data is there and personas can be easily set. So the data set is available. So contextually, we should be able to provide that experience in the autonomous era that has just started. That's the contextual intelligence, right? So how should we look at building this supercomputer? So I look at, they call the traditional internal combustion engine, I call it as vehicle 1.0 era. And the modern car, Tesla is a pioneer and leader in that case, they call it as vehicle 2.0 architecture. In the true autonomous paradigm, I think we should look at vehicle 3.0 architecture, completely reinvent how you would reimagine. So here is my construct in this part. So bear with me while I walk you through. So I put 3 building blocks from the bottom: fully resilient autonomy, digital living space, and then some foundation elements on the right-hand side. Let me walk you through each block. The fully resilient autonomy. It starts with the fail operational powertrain. Granted, even the autonomous vehicle will have tires, right? That's laws of physics. There will be nails on the road. It's fact. Nails can go inside the tire. Today, when that happens, you as a driver, we have the control. We safely maneuver the vehicle until the vehicle comes to a safe slot. Whether it's you're driving in an urban road or in highways. But you as a human make that complex decision to safely maneuver. Guess what? Tomorrow you're not driving. The vehicle is driving for you. The same use case applies. The nail goes inside the tire. How should the powertrain and then the intelligence in the car make that complex decision as if you are making it? That's what I meant by the fail operational powertrain. So you can't just look at the vehicle as the whole body. You have to look at vehicle as a stack of different things. So it started with the fail operational. Then the traditional chassis or the body in white, which is the actual shell of the car itself. Today, there are 4 doors in the car for the passengers to get in and out, or ingress, egress. When you're not driving it, should that construct be the same? Because, as I mentioned, reimagine the vehicle as your digital companion. In that case, how should that ingress, egress should work, right? And, when you are yourself with your closest friends you are inviting to your house, you may arrange your house in a certain way. The sofa sets in one way, and so you configure your house according to that experience. The moment, let's say, you are inviting a government officials, it's much more formal arrangement. So you can configure our living space the way that you want it based on the context and the moment in time. There's no reason why the interior of the vehicle cannot be reimagined for that digital experience. So that's why we are re-looking at how should that ingress, egress in an autonomous vehicle should look like. That's the second part, the chassis or the body in white. Then the vehicle signals, the vehicle network. So the vehicles have a lot of ECUs, the electronic control units, which controls various signals of the car, the body controller, the windshield controller, the door controller, et cetera, et cetera. In traditional mechanical, the OEM cars, there are way too many ECUs to do certain functions. Most of them are LIN-based or CAN-based architecture, right? Even in the Tesla world, a lot of those ECUs are still CAN-based and LIN-based, which has limitations. And obviously, because many of these components are sourced from tier 1 suppliers, so we also have to influence them to innovate them along with us to make those changes, to shift them into more Ethernet-based ECUs. Of course, security also we have to look at, which I will touch it on the foundation layer. So the point is now for autonomous vehicle, we should be able to, through software, through the network, should be able to control the vehicle, the experiences, meaning the over-the-air, firmware over-the-air drop. For that, we need to reinvent the vehicle communication or the vehicle network. So we are doing that at NIO very, very successfully. We build a lot of something called, the vehicle function controllers, we call it as. We are combining multiple ECUs into brain, so that's some of the core IPs that we built. So that's a vehicle network. Then, as you mentioned, the autonomous driving core components, which is mainly the sensor suites, compute, and then the machine learning or the AI, right? Before we can put this autonomous vehicle safely on the road, millions and millions and millions of miles driven data needs to be collected to analyze and give the data back to the ML or the deep learning engineers so they can see what the car has seen it. The car will have, obviously, the LiDAR, radar, sensor suites, and camera. So we are looking at ADAS as not just an ADAS, it's a combination of machine learning, deep learning, all combined together. So that's the first block. And then the contextual intelligence, as I talked about, again, provide that experience. Then on top of it is the digital cockpit. We shouldn't be looking at digital cockpit only for the driver, because there may not be any driver. So we should be able to look for the entire passengers in the car. So that the whole dashboard can become a living space experience, maybe a full screen. So there's a lot of innovation is happening. And last but not least, the user experience, the touch points. The reason iPhone is, and then now the Google phone is successful because the user interface and the user experience is so slick. Even grandmas can easily search for a content or talk to a content because the user experience becomes even more super important in the context when the vehicle becomes the next context, next content and e-commerce platform. Last but not least is all this is have to be security thought through well, because otherwise this can be potentially used as a weapon, right? That's the downside of this. So security has to be from the birth of the car to the destruction of the car. The entire lifestyle ecosystem, security has to be thought through. Last but not least, the amount of data these vehicles will spit out. So in summary, because I'm running out of time, I have 30 seconds. In summary, so the industry has shifted from the digital age to the connected age, and we are entering into the data age. The voice has become the default interface into pretty much anything and everything, whether it's appliance or a gadget or even the cars. Support of this voice interface has become table stakes, right? So AI engineers have to be, and ML engineers have to be injected as part of any application that we develop. I think some of the jobs will become obsolete as part of this process. So an autonomous vehicle is set up for that next big disruption, I honestly believe, in the years to come in this part. Thank you very, very much. That was my presentation.